Okay, guys, so this is my talk on entering the cybersecurity field as a 17-year-old. My name is Sully Vickers. You can just call me Sully. This picture here I use on everything, so if you try to connect with me on LinkedIn, this is what you'll see. I'm a content creator at MetaCTF and a senior at Glen Allen High School. I was searching for an analogy of what getting into the cybersecurity field at a young age is like, and this is what I came up with. I was sick about a month ago, and I took a ton of Dayquil and NyQuil, and I found it stupidly hard to tear across the perforated lines on these packets. And so I typically always ended up using scissors. Similar to cybersecurity, there are non-traditional ways to break into the field. Before I got into cybersecurity, I started my love for IT in 5th grade. I started my love for IT in 5th grade when I was introduced to Scratch through our Hour of Code program. Scratch is just a super easy, kid-friendly block coding platform that teaches you the fundamentals of programming. In 6th grade, I joined the Computer Science Club, in which I learned HTML, CSS, and Python through Code Academy. Also, Code Academy can be used for adults too. It gives you a good fundamental understanding of everything. When I first got into cybersecurity, I started out using TryHackMe. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. I started out with a pretty rough start. I spent like a week trying to set up my first VM, and then another week trying to figure out how to connect to the VPN, and I actually almost gave up. But in the end, it was totally worth it because it gave me a good understanding of how to do a good amount of things cybersecurity-wise. I then moved on to Hack the Box, which really challenged my skills, and as you guys probably know, it's a good bit harder. And I took some anti-siphon training courses along the way. My first CTF competition, I competed in the US Cyber Challenge. In the US Cyber Challenge, there's a preliminary competition in which you have to analyze a packet capture with Wireshark and then answer a bunch of questions. The top performers in this competition are invited to a week-long camp with various SANS instructors. And in addition to the technical content, there's also a resume writing course, a CIO and CISO panel, and then a job fair. USCC is open to all ages, so anyone can participate, and I highly suggest you do. At the end of the week, there's a 3-hour-long CTF, and my team actually ended up winning the CTF. And so we were invited to the Cyber Bowl. In the Cyber Bowl, they give you a vulnerability 2 weeks in advance, and then you study the vulnerability and develop a sort of risk assessment and give a presentation to a panel of judges. Following that, there's a 24-hour-long CTF. We were then invited to DC, in which we got to tour CISO's SOC. We got to go to a dinner sponsored by Maximus and network with like all sorts of people. And we went to the ACT-IAC Cyber Summit. So you can check out uscyberchallenge.org if you want to participate, and I highly suggest you do. High school and college competitions. There are a ton of high school and college competitions like CCDC. There's a ton more, but I competed in the National Cyber League. If you haven't heard of it, there's a gym that opens up about a month before the competition, and you get to practice your CTF skills and really understand how it all works. Following that, there's a weekend-long individual competition, and then another weekend-long team competition. This is more of a resume builder, but it's certainly worthwhile. So I started the high school club, the cybersecurity club at my high school. And as you can see, that's the link to our website there. Initially, it was really hard to get a teacher sponsor because no one wants to sponsor a club that's based around hacking. Because hacking has that horrible stigma around it. And so I ended up talking to the principal, and I convinced him. I wrote up this set of rules, basically saying no one's going to do anything bad or else they get kicked out, and he was okay with it. So I talked to the head of tech for our county, and he actually wouldn't let us get Wireshark. I wanted to use it just to teach people how to analyze packet captures, and he saw it as a security risk. What lots of people in education need to do is weigh the risk and reward on this sort of thing. Of course, it can be dangerous, but ultimately it can teach you fundamental skills on how to get into the workforce. I resulted in using CyberStart America since it doesn't use many penetration testing tools and it consists mostly of source code analysis and cryptography. And there's actually also a SANS scholarship if you score high enough, and so you can get a free SANS Foundation course. We also had various speakers, one of them being the Chief Technology Evangelist of CompTIA, as well as a few from Bank of America. They spoke on how to get into cybersecurity, as well as what entry-level positions are available. Oh, also, here's my video that I used to market the club.
The world relies on technology. What's vulnerable? Everything. Infrastructure, finance, smart technology. Everything is connected, so everything is at risk. Join the Glen Allen High School Cybersecurity Club today. Make the world a safer place.
So we actually had someone in charge of marketing as well, because it's kind of a big deal. Like, if nobody knows about a club at your school, no one's going to join. I'm currently working at MetaCTF as a content creator, and I have been since January. I started out auditing the anti-siphon cyber range, and I would go through and I'd check all the challenges for grammar, functionality, and like learning effectiveness. I then created summary files and put them in our GitLab repository. From there, I moved on to redeveloping our privacy policy to comply with GDPR standards as well as the newer California privacy laws. As you've probably seen on lots of websites now, they have the consent to cookies button, the super annoying button that you have to click every time you come on the website. And currently now, I'm actually working on creating CTFs. I got the chance to participate in the Anti-Siphon Office Hours live stream. It was on PowerShell for InfoSec with Carrie Roberts. This was actually the first time that I had the opportunity to learn one-on-one with some sort of teacher or someone that's a professional in the field. I think companies should open up opportunities like this to other people. There aren't many of these, and they can help people a lot. Now I have starting in June, I have an internship at a Fortune 300 company. So age is just a number. As you can probably guess, I had lots of issues doing things with my age, like participating in anything. Some things you can't change, like getting a hotel room or a rental car, but other things you can. I tried to participate in the Alpha Omega Federal Networking Day, and I was actually initially rejected because I'm not currently pursuing a bachelor's degree, because that's kind of hard to as a high schooler. So yeah, so what I ended up doing was sending them my resume and saying, okay, so sure, I'm not currently pursuing a college degree, but can you substitute this? What you can do is you can think outside of the box. You can reach out to recruiters directly and say, hey, while I may not be doing what everyone else is doing, here's something else. And then after that, I also got rejected again, unfortunately, because I'm not 18. So what I did is I asked to bring a chaperone. And I brought one of my friends who recently got out of the military. And so he actually ended up getting a job interview after it. But majority of the time, it doesn't end up that well. My dad's right there. I have to bring him everywhere. And so I always can't go to stuff. Because he has to take off work, and it's kind of a big deal. We drove 5 hours to come here. I'm located in Richmond, Virginia. So yeah, but what companies can do is they can come to schools instead of bringing people to them. So in this way, basically people can get some sort of an education. So I networked a lot. And networking is super important in the cybersecurity field because it's hard to get into, and connections can really get you places. So here's some of the companies I talked to. So I talked to a lot of people. I enjoy it, and I suggest you guys do it as well. So here's some tips that I have for LinkedIn. Whenever you connect with someone you don't know, send a note. In your connection request, you have the option to send a note if you don't already know this. And what you can do is say, hey, here's a little info about me, here's why I want to connect with you, and do you think you'd have a time to call with me at some point in the future? And something else you can do is find commonalities. So let's say I recently stopped teaching, and I'm looking to get into the cybersecurity field. What I can do is I can look through their job experience. And if I see that they were also a teacher, and they made that jump to cybersecurity, I can bring that up in my note and ask specific questions based on that. And then they're more likely to accept that connection request. Keep a list. There are obviously going to be lots of people you want to talk to, And if you roll out like 100 connection requests in like one weekend, you're not going to be able to talk to all of them. So keep a list and gradually roll them out. And then eventually you can set up calls and conversations. Adjust your vertical. So if I'm trying to talk to the CISO of Google, he's probably not going to respond. And so what I can do is I can move down a level. Maybe I go to the deputy CISO. Maybe I go to the head of red team. Those are all good options, and you can honestly learn a lot from them. So you've already made that initial connection, and now you're ready to have a call or meet them in person. As you're going to be driving majority of the conversation, you want to prepare questions ahead of time. Come into the call with a set list of things you want to learn from this person. Be engaged. Something you want to do is be present in the conversation. You want to ask questions about their questions and ask them to expand on their answers. Ask for an introduction. If they bring someone up in the conversation, something you may want to do is ask if they can introduce you to them. Because if you're making a connection request to someone that you don't know on LinkedIn, they may not accept it. But if it's a connection made from a coworker or a friend, you're more likely to get in touch with them. Follow up. At the end of your meeting, ask if you could follow up in 6 months. This is, of course, if it was a good meeting. Ask to follow up in 6 months. This way you can maintain that initial relationship. And be thankful. These people are taking time out of their day to talk to you, and they don't honestly owe you anything. After you've had that call, create a spreadsheet. You want to retain this important information that you've gathered. So what I've done is I made a spreadsheet with the name of the person, the role, and the company they work for, as well as the date I talked to them, the reason for the conversation, and my 3 main takeaways. What this does is, let's say I meet you in person again, and I have no clue who you are, then I can just pull up that spreadsheet, and you're just right there. So for that 6-month follow-up, you want to set a reminder on your calendar. You will probably forget. If you have that reminder there, then you're good. Send a thank you. This goes back to that thankfulness thing. You really want to be thankful and express gratitude towards whoever's talking to you. So one of the questions commonly asked is, should I even get a college degree? You get a really mixed bag of answers. If you talk to people in the public sector, typically they'll be like, yeah, you need a degree. Private sector, I've noticed, is more lenient. They're more okay with you not having a degree. What you can do is substitute that with other experience. For example, certifications. If you haven't seen this is Paul Jeremy's certification map. I made a tiny URL there. Basically what this map does is it shows you how hard each certification is, what categories of cybersecurity it hits. And if you click on any certification, it'll actually take you to the website. So if you just want to look at the link real quick. Okay, make your own experience. Something else you can do is write articles on Medium or LinkedIn. Compete in CTFs. You can check out ctftime.org. They have a whole list of like 1 billion CTFs. And what you can do is you can go for the bigger ones as they look better on a resume. Azure and AWS offer free 12-month services, and you can practice setting up an Ubuntu server or a honeypot or something. You can contribute to your GitHub code repository just to develop a portfolio there. You can also contribute to open source projects. These all look really good, and they honestly really stand out on a resume. Rather than saying, I've studied for this, you can say, I did this. Make your bad resume sexy. So coming into any career, you're not going to have anything on your resume. And as you can see here, these scripts do the same exact thing, but one looks way better. So don't be Craig. Craig's resume is super bland. It's black and white. Sure, he may have more content than I do, but at least mine looks pretty. If a recruiter's looking through a stack of papers and they keep seeing black and white resume after black and white resume after black and white resume, they'll see this one and they'll be like, whoa, that one actually looks a lot better. And you can also include links if it's a PDF. So to wrap things up here, you can come in through the back of your Dayquil. You don't necessarily have to come in tearing through the perforated lines like they suggest you to. If you only take one thing away from this talk, remember to make sure you only sound stupid once. Coming into any career, you're expected to sound ignorant, and you're expected to sound ignorant, you're going to ask stupid questions, and you're going to feel stupid. But remember the answers to your stupid questions. This way you don't feel stupid again. thank you guys for listening. Do you guys have any questions? What's up? What games did I make in Scratch? Oof. So I actually, in 5th grade, I made one based on Five Nights at Freddy's, if you've heard of that. It was horrible. It was horrible, but it taught me a lot. What's your question?
What do you do for a home is always subjective, but for a home lab?
So for a home lab, something you can do is you can set up a network. You can, with like a router, let's say you have an extra router laying around the house. What do I do? What do I have? So I've just messed around with Azure and AWS pretty much. I don't yeah, in some ways, yeah. What's your question?
Sorry. I was just saying, he didn't mention GCP. You gotta get all the clouds.
And what was your question?
How many programming languages do you know?
How many languages do I know?
Programming languages.
So I know the fundamentals of a good number of languages. I'm not necessarily crazy good at a specific one. Like I know HTML, CSS, Python, and a little bit of C++ as well. And then I can typically just look through another language and be like, okay, I understand that, but I don't necessarily know how to just code from scratch. So yeah. What's your question?
So do you have any cybersecurity courses at your high school at all, or computer science?
So do I have any cybersecurity courses at my high school? I have a computer science course. It's just Java, and it's pretty bad. Like we code on paper. We don't use a compiler. We just write it all out. Yeah. No syntax highlighting, nothing. It's pretty brutal. So no cybersecurity courses at all, no.
At least you don't have to use Visual Studio.
Okay.
So what really got you interested in cybersecurity? Why are you striving so hard at such a young age?
So what got me interested in cybersecurity? I've always been interested in IT, and I was bored, and so I looked up how to hack. And then it really interested me from there, and I got like addicted, and I did a ton of CTFs. I like figuring out how things work. When I was younger, I would take apart a pen and not know how to put it back together, but just to see how it works. And so we have like a bunch of broken pens lying around the house, but yeah. I can't see you the light.
What was the first hacker movie you ever saw?
Mr. Robot. That's more of a TV show though, and there's also, well, actually war games, technically, but yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, that's one way to do it, but also if you're going through like, so let's say you see a job opening online. What you can do is you can go through and look at the keywords in the resume and just put that in yours. I think they'll still pick it up. And honestly, majority of the time with my resume, it won't get picked up and I'll get rejected straight away. So what I do is I just go and message someone at the company or the recruiter and say, hey, can I talk to you? So yeah, I think that's the better way to go. What's your question? We used CyberStart, was what it's called, CyberStart America. Yeah. And it's open to high schoolers. I think you may be able to do it if you're younger, but I'm not sure about that. Okay. So, what's your question? I'm sorry, what did you say? I've always emailed them, but I'm sure you could do both. And I'm sure they'll probably print them out like at the actual workplace. So I always include links just in case.
What's your MBA? What's your dream job?
What's my dream job? I'm gonna go for CISO. I'm just going, I mean, I feel like that's a lot of people, but that's my end goal, yeah. Some sort of managerial position. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys listening. If you have any more questions, feel free to approach me or connect with me on LinkedIn.